You know, when somebody, when a school, when a church, when a church or a ministry is losing a lot of people, and it's still, people are still making it worse, and it's dying down, and it's dying down. Everything's getting cut, and it's a let's just have church and go. All right, and stuff like that. You're just trying to get, if it's nothing but routine and tradition, all you're doing is, the church is toxic. You got to take it down. You see, God has laws about people who you know, when people are wearing clothes that like people with leprosy, they have clothes that are sick and everything. They say or if a building is full of contamination, it needs to be, if you cannot find that contamination, or if you can't get it out in time, it's already saturated in the house. The house must be torn down and burned. Be burned, because if it does not get burned down, that intoxication, that contamination will spread. The contamination will spread, and it will cause a lot of damage. Amen. Amen. You see, the Pilgrims knew that they needed to leave England, because England has finally decided to either overtax the people or force them to go into a parish church and follow religion that they did not believe in. They had to do a certain kind of thing. There was continue with a toxic church and live toxic lives and stuff like that. So they realized that they realized that they had to get out of that place. Okay. And go into a new land. And when they were well established, this was the 17th century when they went to the new land. And they grew there. And then finally, when the 17th century ended and the 18th century began, it was where King George of Parliament decided to make things toxic again by overtaxing the people with the Sugar Act, Stamp Act, and the Tea Act. So what happened was that the American colonists knew that Parliament was overtaxing the people, and instead of getting an appeal, instead of giving them an appealing it, they decided, you pay us the taxes, or give us your country back, and go back to doing the same thing that was done last century. So those are your two choices. So they realized that they're in trouble if they did not do anything. See, King George was a good man, but he made bad choices. So you can't submit to somebody because they're a good person, because don't submit to somebody just because they're a good person. When that person's being a good person, that only means is that they are capable, that there's good in them, that they are capable of doing good. See, that's what the Bible says. No one is good but God. Okay? But a good person is a person who is capable of doing good. Now, if he has already made up his mind that he's going to do what he wants to do, no matter how much damage it's causing others, if he's going to cover his ears or listen in vain and then just go, then you need to get out. It's just like you're under enough. They'll say you're under enough. They didn't realize you're under. You see, they wanted something out of this. They did not want to accept discipline. They wanted something out of this. So the Parliament decided that they just made up their minds, and it's toxic. So a good person, if they just keep doing wrong, It's toxic, and it's like you got to get away from them. You got to get them out of here. But see, they were not going to get them. They're not going to let them go, and they're not going to stop following them. They're going to try to keep on their heels until they got what they wanted with them, and they wanted their submission. But they did not want to keep submitting to such intoxication. So they decided with the Boston Tea Party to declare war. And so when the tea came, when the tea was thrown overboard and everything, they sat there and said, we are not giving in to any more of these unfair taxes. When these unfair taxes, it ends now. That's not something that King George or Parliament was going to accept. They're not going to accept their rejection lightly. So instead, they decided that it was time to fight them. The Parliament decided that they're just going to, if they're not going to accept these laws, that they're going to have to that they're going to have to subdue. They're going to have to subdue, or they're going to end up having to subdue them. But what they did not realize was that the colonists were ready. Minutemen were ready to fight. Minutemen, because Paul Revere took out at night and warned the people, the patriots, the American colonists, that the British were coming, and the British Army was coming. As the British Army was approaching, the Minutemen got up. Minutemen were known for getting up from going to bed to being dressed outside and ready for battle with their weapons for defense. Okay, so when Paul Revere came in, he got the people. He woke them up, and the people got up and ready for battle. He got them up and ready for battle. Yeah, he got them up and ready for battle, and they got up and got ready for battle, and then they're aiming. And when the British soldiers came in from Parliament, they're ready to fight. And of course, the fighting grew, and American colonists says, the American colonists says, we're not taking any more of your toxic rebellion. We're not going to take any more of your toxic selfishness. We're going to be free from all kinds of unwholesome. We're going to be free from all kinds of unwholesomeness. You know, this drove Parliament crazy. You see, they were ready they were ready, aim, and fire if fired upon. Okay, so remember that the Minutemen were told not to fire unless being fired upon. Only fire on account of self-defense, not on not out of retaliation or any such matter.